leading the way with breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news. At least 4 people are dead after a shooting at a bank in downtown Louisville this morning. The shooter is also dead. Thanks for joining us at noon. I'm Lacey Roberts.
And I'm Stephen Albritton. At least 8 other people were injured, including 2 police officers. WLWT News 5's Todd Dykes is live at the scene in Louisville with what we know so far. Todd.
Yeah, Stephen and Lacey, this is just an incredibly sad situation here in the heart of downtown Louisville. As a Kentucky native, this certainly hits home. It comes 2 weeks following the shooting down in Nashville that left 6 people dead, including 3 kids. We don't know the ages of the victims in this mass shooting that happened about 8:30 this morning. I'll step out of the way. We're really right next to the river here. The shooting happening in the building behind me, you see there, that's referred to by Louisville residents as the sailboat building because of the way it's designed. It is home to the Old National Bank, and that's where police have said that a shooter, not unclear the gender of that shooter, went in this morning around 8:30, unclear what kind of weapon was used, but shot and killed 4 innocent victims. Then incredibly fast response by Louisville Metro Police to get here, engaging in gunfire with that shooter. Unclear if a police officer's bullet took the shooter out or if the shooter took his or her own life. That's still to be determined, but we have been informed that 2 Louisville Metro police officers were injured as a result of today's events. 1 is currently in critical condition at the hospital, and again, a total of 5 people killed, including the shooter. There are 8 people who were taken to local hospitals to be treated for their injuries. So the best I can do, we're going to toss to some sound here in a second from Kentucky's governor, also a Louisville police official, but being here live, it's an eerie normalcy. That's the best way I can describe it. You're seeing a lot of flashing lights, no sound of sirens though, and it's a beautiful day, the day after Easter, when so many families were celebrating, but now sadly there are, more than a dozen families that are reeling based on what happened just during a normal Monday morning on this post-Easter holiday. So it's terribly sad. But as I mentioned, we had some comments earlier, just within the last hour, from Kentucky's governor, also a Louisville police official. Let's take a listen to what they had to say.
Again, at 8:30 this morning, approximately 8:30 this morning, Louisville Metro Safe received a report of shots fired and a possible active shooter at 333 East Main Street at the Old National Bank. Within 3 minutes of being dispatched, officers arrived on scene and encountered the suspect almost immediately, still firing gunshots. Officers exchanged gunshots with that suspect, and ultimately that suspect did die at the scene. We are trying to confirm if that suspect died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound or was killed by officers at this time. At least 2 officers were shot during this exchange of gunfire. 1 is currently in surgery at University of Louisville Hospital. At least 4 more victims were confirmed to be deceased inside the location, as well as 8 that are now currently being treated at the University Hospital. 2 are critical, one of those being the officer. We're currently working to identify all of the victims, work with their families for reunification, and provide services to the families and the victims. The investigation, I want to reiterate, is ongoing. This will be a long scene. It will take pretty much into the night. So I still ask that the public avoid the area. I want to reiterate that there is no active threat. We believe this is a lone gunman involved in this that did have a connection to the bank. We're trying to establish what that connection was to the business, but it appears he was a previous employee. It is clear from the officer's response that they absolutely saved people's lives. This is a tragic event, but it was the heroic response of officers that made sure that no more people were more seriously injured than what happened. We will continue to provide updates as soon as possible. We will have another press briefing following this at 3 p.m. today.
LMPD made it to this scene in a matter of minutes after receiving the call, and there is no doubt in my mind that their efforts saved lives and they put their own on the line. And we have at least 1 officer in surgery right now that is there because he took those actions to try to protect the people of Louisville. I want to thank Louisville Fire, Louisville Metro EMS, and Emergency Management and the Louisville Sheriff's Office for the immediate response. They've now been joined by the FBI, ATF, Homeland Security, Kentucky State Police have requested in the Louisville Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods in this response. This is awful. I have a very close friend that didn't make it today. And I have another close friend who didn't either, and one who's at the hospital that I hope is going to make it through. So when we talk about praying, I hope people will. For those that we are hoping can make it through the surgeries that they're going through, and then we've got to do what we have done these last 3 years after everything. We've got to wrap our arms around these families. And to everybody who needs it, don't be afraid to get some help. Our bodies and our minds are not meant to go through these types of tragedies. And so I hope that all the brave officers that stepped into the line of fire, that are worried about one of their fellow officers, will reach out for help when they need it. I hope every one of those bank employees and folks in that building, one that I know well, and my AG campaign was out of that building. I know virtually everyone in it. That's my bank. I hope that they will all reach out and get the help that they need. There are a lot of people that are hurting today. And if we have a place to focus our energy, I hope it is to surround them with the love and the compassion that we have been so good at showing one another. I want people to know that while today is a horrific act, I do believe that this is a safe community with officers doing their very best each and every day, and that's what we saw here. Yes, I know that there are steps that the police department is taking to do things better after a recent report, but we certainly saw, I think, the very best from them today, and I want to thank them and all our other law enforcement officers for responding and doing their best to try to save some of my friends and many others. Thank you all.
Hearing there from an emotional Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, boy, calling police officers heroes, it mirrors in many ways what we experienced a couple of weeks ago and seeing that body camera footage out of the Covenant school shooting in Nashville, where those officers went in mission driven to take down the threat in that situation, as awful as it was. Similar a situation here in Louisville today, it certainly sounds to be the case. And to clarify, the police representative who spoke before the governor indicated that it was a man who was the shooter. So I was a little unclear as to the gender of the shooter, but now, obviously a gunman is the word we're using. Here along this street in front of the Old National Bank Center, where again, I'm calling it a very eerie sense of normalcy is unfolding at the moment. I've seen a number of business shopkeepers stick their heads out of their doors opening and looking down here just to see what's happening now. And it's just, we're all dealing with the same thing all across America, it seems, and it's now sadly touched the city of Louisville. And it's certainly eerily familiar for people who live in Cincinnati, considering what happened in 2018 at the Fifth Third Center on Fountain Square, where 3 people were killed. And this is the home of the survivor from that incident, Whitney Austin. She is from Louisville. It happened to be in Cincinnati that day back in September of 18 when her body was riddled by bullets. And I've had a chance to get to know Whitney over the course of the subsequent years. And it's a miracle that she survived. And she has certainly been pressing for what she considers to be smart, common sense gun measures, however that's defined. And I know that obviously opens a can of worms for a lot of folks, but this is the current reality that Louisvillians are now dealing with. 5 people dead. That includes the shooter. You have 4 victims, and presumably innocent victims, inside of a bank transacting business this morning. It was around 8:30 when the shooting unfolded. 8 people at the hospital, or at local hospitals, including 2, or at least 1 police officer in critical condition. We do believe that the other officer who was injured is going to be okay, but there are a lot of moving parts here. Don't know the weapon that was used at this point. Don't know the nature of the injury sustained. We know that that one officer I mentioned, again, critical condition. We're trying to find out the medical status of those other folks who were taken to local hospitals. So we'll expect to find out more. You heard there's going to be a news conference this afternoon at 3 o'clock. We'll certainly be covering that. And yeah, it's just very difficult to be here right now, considering what Cincinnati went through 5 years ago and now what our neighboring city just to the southwest is going through here in Louisville.